You take any external goals that we have and you need to go internal. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Strength Connection podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kurkowski. All right, it's me and you today. This is a solo episode, April of 2023. Been really interesting with some recordings on the podcast. I want to give some updates, what's coming up soon, as well as really interesting posts that I saw from someone that I follow and admire I've had on the podcast this week that stemmed a lot of different thoughts regarding setting proper goals and really just what sustaining strength and sustaining success really means. So I'm going to dive into that in a couple minutes here. But beforehand, let me just give you a little bit of some updates. So it has been an absolute blast putting together the 3-piece seminar that I'm going to be doing this week, which is April 13th, Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's been fun putting this together because this really stemmed from a conversation I had with a really good friend of mine a few weeks back when I realized it was a milestone time. It's been 15 years this month that I first became a strength coach and started getting into some reflection, really big lessons and insights over, this decade and a half of being a coach, things that I learned. And I wanted to put that together as well as talk about some recent experiences that I've had over the past 6 months of working with psychedelics and microdosing. So I kind of put all these different ideas together and curated them into this one seminar, which is called the 3Ps. So physical, psychological, and psychedelics. The microdosing side has been really fun to chat about with people. It's a very popular topic that's going on right now in the world of mental health and also physical health. And it's been an experiment that I've been doing over the past half year. And I'm going to be going into really what I've experienced from it, not just the benefits of it or the things to watch out for, but just my personal experience and why I wanted to do this. So this is really cool. It's been fun putting this together. I'm excited to put it on, so you can register for that here in the show notes. Again, I've said before, if you can't make it live at 5 o'clock on Thursday, if you register, you will get a copy of it recorded. So if you're on the fence about knowing whether you can join or not, still register so you can get the copy of it. I think it's going to be a good benefit for you that you can utilize in your own personal strength. All right. So this past week, it's been a blast connecting on the podcast. I've had a couple different recordings. Had Dustin Bogle, whose episode is released now. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that one yet, Dustin is a 20-year veteran of the gym business, has built multiple successful businesses, and he just put out a new book called Reinforce Your Gym, which is now an Amazon bestseller on here. And it was a blast talking with Dustin because he had me on his podcast, Lunch with a Punch. And one of the things I really enjoy is seeing how people prepare for interviews, how they communicate, how they kind of frame a conversation. So as well as being a podcast host, it's always fun to be on other people's podcasts. It's always a blast to talk and connect with new people, but seeing how they put together their show, how they set up their interviews is always really interesting for me to learn, to see, how they frame things together. And Dustin is one of the best. I had a blast on his show because he just framed it so well. He did great homework, asked some really insightful questions to me that I had never been asked before. I didn't really think of. So it was really cool to turn the tides on him and interview him and go over his journey. He was a professional wrestler for 10 years before, which was just a blast to dive into first with his origin story. So you can go and listen to that one out. It's out right now on wherever you're listening. And coming up this week, had a chance to connect with Nichole Gallagher, who is a kettlebell coach out of Florida. It was just really fun to just talk shop and talk strength with her. She had some really interesting quotes and phrases that she put out. One of them was showing each bell love, which really was a deep dive topic about how to really be focused in every part of your strength, not just the things that really challenge you, but really getting into the fine-tuned techniques, using the lighter weights in training, and how putting that focus in and showing those bells just as much love is one of the keys to developing that skill of strength. Really fun to chat with Nichole. Then I had Dr. Ryan Wolfert on this week, who put on the Mindset Matters Summit that I was a part of earlier this year. And that was just, I mean, me and Dr. Ryan, we've talked numerous times before. I love his approach to how he conducts his practice. And as a doctor, I'm always fascinated by those who really go deep into the mental side and the fitness side of health, because unfortunately, you don't hear as many doctors talk about it because they're inundated with, with their patients and kind of reacting to the situation, where he goes so much on the preventative side and the proactive side of his chiropractic care. It was just an absolute blast talking with him. And then this week, I've got Tim Anderson that's coming back on the show. Tim has a new book out. It's called Be Naked. I have it right here. He actually sent me a copy of it. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I totally forget. I'm sorry, Tim, on it, but I got a chance to dive into this book, and this book goes deep. This is going to be a really interesting conversation that we're going to have. I mean, the title of this is The Strength Connection. I love talking about all different areas of strength and how they connect in our lives. Tim is one of those that really practices this, and he articulates it so well. This book goes into, just overall life skills and life goals and how to use movement, how to use breath, how to bring that into the mental side, really deep into the spiritual side of strength. That if there's anyone that is practicing and diving as deep into the strength connection side of it, Tim is that guy. So I've had him on the podcast before. It was episode 47 when I had him on, talking about Original Strength, which was his program that he's put together, which is very popular. I'm sure if you've been in this world for a while, you know about Original Strength. But this is going to be all new stuff that we're going to dive into. So I've been laying out a litany of questions for Tim that I'm hoping we can get to all of them. If not, we'll have to do a part 2, but that's going to be coming up soon. This is going to be really, really fun. So, all right. So moving on, I saw a post this week from Jason Phillips that I absolutely loved. I chuckled by myself on it because there was so much truth to it, but also it was just so short and so concise that I wanted to bring this in because it goes so much into what I talk about, which is how to drive on the highway of strength and using different lanes. So his post said something like, how do you stay shredded all year long? And then you scroll to the next one and it says, you don't. That's the secret to staying shredded. And it's self-evident in many ways. Anybody who's been in this world, especially with body composition type stuff, that staying shredded all year long it's incredibly difficult to do, but it's also kind of like a fool's errand to go into. So what Jason was diving into, if you don't know Jason, I had him on the podcast before, unbelievable wealth of knowledge in the world of nutrition. His program, the NCI, the Nutrition Coaching Institute, is hands down one of the best in the world. And Jason comes from just years and years of perfecting his product, perfecting his program, and giving unbelievable results to people, not just in the, shredded transformations and stuff like that, but actually sustaining lifelong strength and body composition for years down the road. He's one of the best. He's the top 1%. So when he says this, I listen, wholeheartedly. And what he talked about afterwards is not only is it so strenuous to do year round to stay at that level of perfection that you see on like an Instagram post or stepping on stage, but it also can be really damaging physically as well as psychologically as well. And it made me think of my journey about 3 years ago when I was deep into a body composition change. So I just wanted to bring that insight into you and talk a little bit about it. So I've always been relatively a lean person in my adult life. I was very overweight as a kid. Actually, and people don't believe me on that. I have to find some pictures of when I was in middle school, but I was a very husky is the term that we used to use back in that day. But I weighed more in 7th grade than I did when I graduated high school. So that's just a little bit of context right there. But in my adult life, I, grew, I kind of thinned out into my frame now, which is more of a leaner frame. So I always seemed like I had that V shape to me, but I never took nutrition very seriously for a while. I always trained hard, but was never in that real definition-based cut that I had. And I never just went so deep into understanding the nutritional side of it till about 3 years ago when we were making some changes with the team that I worked on and started getting into tracking everything that I was doing. I was tracking my macros. I was playing around with a lot of different ideas with it. And I really built the skill of nutrition, of what I do now, and understanding it. And I got amazing results right off the bat, like really shredded down. And it was that point where I like, how lean can I possibly get? And I got down to under like 5.5% body fat in the summer of 2020, like very, very lean in there. And I was like, oh, cool. This is just where I'm at now. And that first time I really went into a deep cut, I saw those instant results. And then I tried to keep that level of leanness while I wanted to put on some more muscle and add some more size to my frame. And when you do that, obviously you are going to put on some body fat along with muscle. And then what I did though, is I thought like, oh, I started to see a little bit of that bulk come up. I started to lose a little bit of that definition. It started to play with me a little bit psychologically. So I went right back into a cut again, and then it didn't work as well. And then I started to build back up again, and then went down to a cut again. And what I realized is that every time I went back into a calorie deficit or trying to shred back down, it was a very different experience than that first one. So my body actually essentially started to fight back on me. I wasn't able to like lose body fat at the same rate again. And it was kind of really playing with my mind quite a bit. And this is kind of a short sample size, a small sample size of, what I've seen other people do with the really damaging things you can do physically and mentally to your body. But I think the bigger part behind it is that there's this notion, there's this concept still that I see where we think that we have a goal, and then once somebody achieves it, then it's like the Disney happily ever after, sail into the sunset, and then you just sustain and you maintain that strength afterwards. You maintain that success afterwards. That's not reality. That's not life. It's like, it's a beautiful movie concept, and we see all these different, ideas and these storylines where it's you face adversity and then you come to, and then you see that big change, and then it's the big fight scene at the end, and then everybody's, victorious, and then, the credits go, and then you think that that's just the ending of it. But in real life, it goes in waves. It can be very challenging. You need to wave that load a little bit. And that's what Jason was talking about in this post, is because it's very easy to look at these insane, physiques on social media and think that this is just year-round stuff that you can do. Once you get there, then you just stay there forever. And it made me think of the highway of strength that I developed in my own coaching program, where, like once you get to a certain level of strength, like we all want to maintain that level of success. We all want to maintain that body composition. But the way you actually maintain and you sustain that is to look towards the next goal, like keep pursuing something else. Maybe you hit that body composition spot, but then you're looking at the next goal that you have and the next goal that you have. And when we're talking about goals specifically with this too, is I think it's so important and it's so vital that you take any external goals that we have and you need to go internal, like really get deep into the why behind it. This is a concept that's talked about like all over the place. I've talked about it numerous times of what is the why and start with why, but really it is so vital and so important that it's worth repeating over and over again. Because if you just have that external goal, if you want to look a certain way, or even like in business, you want to succeed to a certain level or whatever it is, if it's something external that you're trying to bring in and you don't have an internal reason behind it, then even if you get there, it's going to be a fleeting moment and then it's just going to disappear really quickly. It's not going to be something that is driving you internally inside. So because it is really challenging to hit goals, like these waves pop up, it's very hard to get down to that low body fat percentage. It's very hard to build a sustaining business. It's very hard to have a meaningful, long-lasting relationship. Like if you're just looking at the external things, then it's going to fail very quickly because adversity is going to come up. If it's coming internally, if you get really the deep reasons behind it, why, then when those times come, that is going to help fuel those times inside. And then you're going to be able to handle those waves. So with this example of body composition that Jason put up, like how to stay shredded all year round. The truth is, like, the best way to do it is you go into a phase where you're not seeing that same definition. You go into reestablishing your metabolism, of building maybe a little bit, gaining that strength, and then going back down, and being okay mentally of knowing that your body's going to look a little bit different. The best way to do that is to really get internal and be, what is the real reasons why I'm doing this? Okay. So one of the best ways that I found to do this, give a little bit of some practical advice on it, is imagining the outcome. This is one of my favorite things to do. It's something that I've adapted over the past year that is huge, is actually visualizing what is the ultimate goal that I'm trying to get to. And you envision that every single day, multiple times a day. So starting in the morning, you close your eyes and you can put on a specific song or something that kind of puts you into that mindset, and you visualize walking through that outcome that you are trying to emulate, trying to get into your life. On the bad days, when you have struggling times and things don't go your way that day, you still imagine your outcome. Like, okay, it was a tough day, but this is still where I'm going. This is still where I'm going to get to. It's a really powerful thing to do. And it's amazing how much of a fuel and a driver that it can be for you in that time. So, Jason, I really appreciate you putting this post out. And again, it stems from so much truth, so much experience and knowledge that Jason has, not just throwing that out as just a thing just to get, likes and get some clicks on it. Like, this is the truth behind it. And Jason's been very forward in talking about his experiences with anorexia and his body image, type stuff. And it's really true. And it was something that I wanted to dive into a little bit here. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Again, seminars coming up this week. Hopefully you can join me. New podcasts that I'm going to be diving into. And if you're enjoying this podcast, wherever you're listening, then please make sure you subscribe, give it a rating, give it a review. That'd be awesome. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys on the next one. All right. Peace. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to these Strength Connection Mastery seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.